So, picture this. You've got two people sitting in the exact same cubicle, right?
Okay.
Doing the exact same job. They have like the same manager, the same resources, the exact same morning commute. But you fast forward 3 years, and one of them is running the department. They're launching new projects, completely thriving.
Yeah. And the other one.
The other one is just completely burned out,
Mm.
deeply cynical, and, actively facing layoffs. And today, we're looking at a source that claims the difference between those two people has absolutely nothing to do with, like, innate talent
Right.
or office politics or even blind luck. Instead, has everything to do with a very hidden, very daily mechanical habit. So welcome to the deep dive.
It's a great topic today.
It really is. We are continuing our ongoing analysis of Rhonda Byrne's book, The Magic, and today our mission zeroes in entirely on the framework laid out in Chapter 6, which is Day 6, Works Like Magic.
It's a bold claim. It's like works like magic. But that title is actually anchored by this really fascinating quote from the writer Tom Robbins.
Right. Oh, yeah, the source uses that right at the start to set the stage.
Exactly. He says that if you take any mundane activity, any basic skill, and you just push it as far as it will go.
Like really push it.
Right, push it to the wildest edges. You actually force it into the realm of magic. And what's fascinating here is that the premise we're unpacking today asks us to apply that exact philosophy
Yeah.
to the most repetitive, sometimes, soul-crushing part of our existence.
Our daily labor.
Yeah, our daily work.
That daily grind. And I mean, whether you're listening to this right now while rehearsing for some massive boardroom presentation or, and maybe you're trying to keep a small business afloat.
Or managing a busy household.
Exactly. Wrangling 3 toddlers. Today is really about identifying the missing link in your work life. The goal is to figure out how to, permanently upgrade your daily experience so you aren't that person grinding away for absolutely zero return.
And that missing link, according to the source material, is gratitude.
Right.
But, and this is crucial, we need to separate this from the typical cultural understanding of gratitude.
Yeah, because it's not just about saying thanks when someone holds the door.
Exactly. We aren't talking about a polite social custom here or, a fleeting, warm, fuzzy feeling. The framework in the book positions gratitude as an absolute, non-negotiable, mechanical requirement for permanent career success.
It's intense.
It is.
Yeah.
It operates more like the laws of physics than, say, a self-help platitude.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that because the book relies really heavily on the law of attraction to explain why this actually works.
It does.
And it's so easy to hear, just be grateful and roll your eyes. Like you think, sure, I'll just say thank you to my Excel spreadsheet and magically the CEO will march in and hand me a promotion.
Right. It sounds totally absurd when you put it like that.
It really does. But there's a very specific chain of cause and effect being outlined here.
Yeah, that skepticism is completely natural. But if we look at the mechanism the chapter describes, it claims that under the law of attraction, it is literally impossible to have permanent success without gratitude.
Impossible.
Impossible. To bring increase into your job, and whether we're talking about tangible things like a raise or, brilliant new ideas.
Or even the intangibles.
Right, like feeling respected and energized. Being deeply appreciative of the job you currently hold is the prerequisite. It completely dictates the energy you're putting into the system.
I really like to think of this gratitude concept like a physiological thermostat for your effort.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, because when you're genuinely grateful for the work you have, you automatically give more to it. You don't have to force yourself to focus.
Or aggressively manage your time.
Exactly. The engagement is just an automatic byproduct. The thermostat clicks on, your internal energy rises, and you lean in. And according to the law of attraction outlined in the source, when you naturally give more, you naturally increase what the universe returns to you.
And the cognitive shift behind that is just fascinating.
No, sir.
Well, when you actively look for things to be grateful for in your work environment, you're essentially forcing your brain's reticular activating system to filter for opportunity rather than threat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you stop seeing your overflowing inbox as, a weapon aimed at your free time.
I definitely feel like my inbox is a weapon sometimes.
We all do.
Yeah.
But with this shift, you start seeing it as a sign of job security or an opportunity to solve a puzzle. That cognitive shift frees up massive amounts of mental energy that you were previously burning on just, resentment.
So the inverse must be just as automatic, right?
Precisely.
If you aren't grateful for your job, you automatically give less. The thermostat drops, you start phoning it in, doing the bare minimum just to not get fired.
And that bare minimum effort is what the book actually defines as the tipping point for stagnation.
Yeah.
When you withhold effort and enthusiasm, you decrease what comes back to you.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is. The text goes so far as to say that this state of ingratitude guarantees you will never be happy in your work. The job will inevitably stagnate and it will deteriorate.
Yikes.
Yeah, the book actually references a very specific ancient principle here. Whoever has gratitude for their work will be given more, leading to abundance. Whoever does not have gratitude, even what little they have will be taken from them.
That is a severe warning.
Very severe.
It really implies that the universe operates on this strict, almost mathematical rule of return. Like, you are in total control of what you receive, but that control is governed exclusively by the amount of gratitude you're willing to project outward.
Right. It's a 1-to-1 ratio.
Which brings us to how this actually scales. Because it's very easy to visualize this in a traditional corporate environment, right?
Yeah.
You work hard, you smile, you get the promotion.
Sure.
But the book anticipates that not everyone's work looks like climbing some corporate ladder. It applies this mechanical rule across vastly different life roles.
Yeah, let's look at business owners, for example.
Right. I imagine the biggest risk here, especially if you own your own business, is that gratitude gets entirely swallowed by anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
You get so hyper-focused on, like, keeping the lights on, managing payroll, dealing with supply chains, that you just completely forget to be grateful you even have a business to run.
And that anxiety actually triggers a mechanical shutdown in this framework.
Or shut down.
Yeah. The text claims that a business's value will increase or decrease in direct correlation to the owner's gratitude. So when owners replace their gratitude with worry,
Like worrying about the economy.
worrying about the economy, the competition, overhead costs, the business, actually begins to spiral downward.
Wow.
Worry chokes off the gratitude frequency, which in turn chokes off the growth and the solutions. The more grateful an owner remains for the business, for the employees, and the customers, the more the business naturally expands.
It's a really powerful visualization. The business itself is just a reflection of the owner's psychological state.
Exactly.
But what about the role that rarely gets the respect, let alone the paycheck it actually deserves?
You mean managing a household?
Yes. Stay-at-home parenting. The invisible labor. The text speaks directly to this, and it feels crucial for anyone listening who's currently dealing with, the endless loop of laundry and meal prep.
It is crucial.
Yeah.
The book offers a really profound reframe for that specific phase of life. Instead of viewing it as an endless cycle of thankless labor, it advises treating it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Which can be hard to do when you're exhausted.
Oh, incredibly hard.
Yeah.
But the mechanism works the exact same way here. When you apply deep gratitude to the daily, repetitive work of parenting and managing a home, you shift your energetic frequency.
So it changes what you attract.
Right. The claim is that by doing so, you actually attract more support, more moments of unexpected help, and just more genuine happiness into that domestic experience.
Okay, but I have to push back here.
Go for it.
I really have to challenge this on behalf of anyone listening who is just bone tired and miserable in their current situation, because that sounds dangerously close to toxic positivity.
I can see why you'd say that.
Right. Like, if I actively dislike my job, if my boss is a total nightmare, or if I know deep down my talents are being wasted, isn't forcing gratitude just tricking myself into staying in a really bad situation? Does this framework address the danger of complacency?
That is the exact tension the book addresses, actually. And it brings us to what we could call the dream job paradox.
Okay, the dream job paradox.
Yeah. The author does not advocate for complacency at all. In fact, the text is very clear that you should love your job. You should be excited to wake up and go to work. And it explicitly states that you should never settle for anything less than that ideal scenario.
Okay, so I shouldn't settle.
Right.
But if I refuse to settle, and I absolutely hate where I am right now, how do I reconcile those two things? If I hate my job, I'm going to complain about it.
And that is exactly where the law of attraction traps you.
Because of the complaining.
Yes. If you complain your way through the day, you are anchoring yourself to the frequency of the miserable job. The paradox laid out in the source text is that the only way to actually receive your dream job is by first becoming completely grateful for the job you currently have.
No matter how flawed it is.
No matter how flawed.
So, let me get this straight. I have to use the job I despise as the energetic fuel to manifest the job I actually want.
Precisely. Gratitude for your present reality is the bridge to your ideal future.
A gratitude bridge.
Exactly. If you withhold gratitude because you're just waiting for the perfect conditions, like waiting for the dream job to materialize before you decide to be thankful, you will be waiting forever.
Because you've cut off the mechanism.
You've cut off the very mechanism that brings better opportunities to you. You have to find the micro details to appreciate in the bad job to build momentum to escape it.
Okay, so what does this all mean for our actual day-to-day?
Wow.
Because it's one thing for us to sit here in a studio and discuss the philosophy of a gratitude bridge or the reticular activating system.
Right, theory is easy.
It's a completely different thing to actually execute this when you are staring at a blinding computer screen at 2:00 p.m. on a Tuesday, the Wi-Fi keeps dropping, you have a deadline in 20 minutes, and you are completely drained.
The 2:00 p.m. Tuesday slump.
Yes. How do we operationalize this?
So to actually execute this during a stressful workday, the text introduces the core practical exercise for day 6.
Okay.
And it revolves around a highly specific visualization technique called the invisible manager.
I love this concept. It takes something deeply abstract and just completely gamifies it.
It does, and gamification is incredibly effective for behavioral change.
So how does it work?
The text asks you to imagine that you have an invisible manager whose sole employment purpose is to shadow you.
Just shadow you.
Yeah, shadow you and keep a meticulous record of all the thoughts and feelings you have about your job. You visualize this entity following you everywhere you go throughout your day, constantly poised with a pen and a notebook.
Just literally trailing behind you.
Yep.
Like, you walk into a tense meeting, they pull up a chair in the corner, you log on to a chaotic Zoom call, they are standing right behind your shoulder, just waiting.
Waiting for you to find something to be grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time you notice something positive, your invisible manager makes a note of it.
Okay.
The text gives you a clear quantitative objective here.
Yep.
Your job is to find as many things as humanly possible to be grateful for, so that by the time you clock out, your manager has an incredibly long, detailed list.
Because according to this system, the longer that list gets...
The more raw material your invisible manager has to generate the magic.
Wow.
That list translates directly into increased money, unexpected opportunities, smoother workflows, and deeper fulfillment.
Okay, here is where it gets incredibly practical. Because if you are in that 2:00 p.m. Tuesday slump we talked about, your brain is just going to scream, there's nothing to be grateful for here.
Absolutely.
But the text doesn't leave you stranded. It gives you specific prompts to force you to see the micro details you are ignoring. It tells you to start with the most foundational fact. Be grateful that you simply have a job.
It forces a massive perspective shift right out of the gate.
It really does.
It prompts you to remember the sheer number of people who are currently unemployed, people who would give absolutely anything to trade places with you and deal with your dropping Wi-Fi.
Right. And then it zooms in on the physical environment. It tells you to think about all the time-saving equipment you use that you honestly just feel entitled to at this point.
Oh, we all do.
The phones, the printers, the internet, your computer software. Imagine doing your current job, but you have to do it in 1985.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Exactly. Just visualizing the absence of those tools makes you instantly grateful for a high-speed internet connection, even if it occasionally drops.
And then it moves from the tools to the ecosystem of people. The text prompts you to appreciate the colleagues you work with and the friendships you've managed to form. And it specifically highlights the invisible support staff who make your daily operations possible.
The people we usually walk right past.
Exactly. The receptionists, the administrative assistants, the janitorial staff, the delivery drivers.
It's pulling you out of your isolated stress bubble and forcing you to acknowledge the massive web of support that's actually holding you up.
Yes.
And the book gives you a very specific magic phrase to use when you are logging these items. You don't just briefly think, oh, neat, the printer works.
Right. That's not enough.
You have to articulate it to your invisible manager. Every time you notice a micro detail, you have your manager log it by internally saying, I'm so grateful for, and then you fill in the blank.
Like, I'm so grateful for the IT person who fixed my login.
Right.
Or I'm so grateful for the air conditioning in this building.
Exactly. But we have to emphasize the feeling behind the phrase because the text makes a major point of this.
Yes, the feeling is everything.
It is not a sterile clerical exercise. Your invisible manager isn't just a stenographer recording your words. They are recording your emotions. The depth of the feeling is the engine.
That is the crux of the law of attraction.
Yeah.
The book stresses that the more deeply your manager can see that you are actually feeling the gratitude in your body, the sooner that manager can start altering your reality.
So you can't just fake it.
No, shallow words do nothing. Deep, Resonant appreciation speeds up the mechanism. In fact, the text makes a rather staggering claim here.
What's that?
It says that it is entirely possible to generate such an intense concentration of gratitude in a single day that you would see your workplace circumstances improve instantly.
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 Just from one hyper-focused day of the invisible manager exercise.
That is the promise of the text. It notes that when we observe people suddenly experiencing these massive, unexplainable leaps in their careers,
Like the sudden promotion out of nowhere.
right, or the perfect client just dropping into their lap, we brush it off and call it a lucky break. But the author argues that in this framework, lucky breaks do not exist as random accidents.
They aren't accidents at all.
No. They are simply the visible, mathematical byproduct of gratitude's power manifesting in the physical world.
Okay, let's bring this all the way down to earth. Let's say I want to actually test this out tomorrow morning.
Okay.
How do I seamlessly integrate the specific requirements of day 6 into a normal routine?
Well, your day would actually start with the foundation we established back on day 1.
The morning list.
Exactly.
Huh.
You wake up, make a list of 10 blessings in your life, write out exactly why you are grateful for each one, and then you reread that list. After each item, you say the magic words, thank you, thank you, thank you, and you let yourself feel that appreciation as deeply as possible.
Right, so I set the baseline frequency first thing in the morning. Then I commute, I sit down at my desk, and I deploy the invisible manager. That's step 2. I visualize them standing right there with the notebook, and my entire objective for the next 8 hours is to actively hunt for things to be grateful for.
And for step 3, every single time you find one of those things, whether it's the coffee machine working or a client approving a proposal, you actively instruct your manager to write it down.
By using the prompt.
Right. Using the prompt, I'm so grateful for, filling in the blank, and consciously generating that deep feeling of appreciation in your chest.
And then the workday ends, the manager clocks out, and I go home. But the practice isn't quite over, is it?
No, step 4 closes the loop. Just before you go to sleep, you need to grab your magic rock.
Ah, right. That physical anchor object we introduced back in the day 2 practice.
Exactly. You hold that rock in the palm of your hand, you scan back through all the events of your day, you identify the absolute best thing that happened to you, and you say the magic words, thank you, for that specific moment before you fall asleep.
Now, there is a very important caveat in the source material that we definitely need to mention.
Oh, the weekend rule.
Yes. If you happen to be listening to this deep dive on a Saturday or a Sunday, or, you're currently on vacation and away from your normal work environment, the text has a strict rule. You do not force this.
Right.
You are supposed to skip this specific practice for today, move right along to the day 7 practice tomorrow, and save this invisible manager technique for the very first day you are officially back at work. Don't waste your invisible manager's time on a Sunday afternoon if you aren't actually on the clock.
Exactly. It's a highly specific tool for a highly specific environment. And if we pull back and look at the broader implications of this tool, it really demands a total reevaluation of how we view the hierarchy of success in the world.
How so?
Well, this text makes the audacious claim that luck is entirely manufactured. It claims that a lucky break is just the lagging indicator of a hidden psychological habit.
Which completely shatters the cynical view most of us hold about corporate success.
Oh, totally.
Because we usually attribute it to nepotism, ruthlessness, or just being in the right place at the right time.
It does shatter that. It places the locus of control entirely back on the individual. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over as you navigate your own professional hurdles this week.
Okay.
If luck is simply a byproduct of this invisible mechanics of gratitude, how might your entire perspective on the highly successful people in your industry change?
That's a great question.
Could it be that the people we look at with envy, the ones who always seem to effortlessly get the green light, or land the massive accounts, or stumble into the perfect creative opportunity, are actually just operating with a hyperactive invisible manager?
Wow.
Are they quietly, internally finding deep appreciation for the micro details of their environment, while the rest of the office is bonded together by complaining about the grind?
It's a challenging, almost uncomfortable thought.
It really is.
Because it implies that their success isn't a fluke. It's a formula that you also have access to. And tracing it all the way back to Tom Robbins, it means they took the mundane, gray reality of their daily job, pushed it to the wildest edges of appreciation, and forced it right into the realm of magic.
Couldn't have said it better.
The only question left is whether you are willing to put your invisible manager to work today.